Hello and welcome to the Beefy Tech channel. Today's video is a direct follow-up of the 4090+5800X3D video where I tested 1440p resolution bottlenecks on a couple of popular games. I got several comments that mentioned that the 4090 is not specifically designed for 1440p, so here is today's video. Given how much performance was left on the table by the 5800X3D at 1440p, I decided to follow through with an RTX 4090 4K test, but not just any 4K test, rather one focused on competitive gaming. Let's find out if the RTX 4090 can run 4K high refresh rates in Warzone 1 and 2, Modern Warfare 1 and 2 multiplayer, and also I will be showing testing of Forza Horizon 5 and Dying Light 2 where I compare their 1440p results to their 4K results. Spoiler alert, the 4090 is absolutely crazy. My system specs will be up on screen just now while this benchmark finishes, and the game settings will be shown right after the benchmark is complete. I wanted to mention this was tested at 4K native resolution, and the results were indeed quite impressive, averaging 195 FPS in the benchmark at 4K. Alrighty then, these are the system settings. I wanted to mention that the reason that I'm running them at the identical settings that I ran the 1440p benchmark at is because I will always play a game like Warzone with competitive settings regardless of resolution. The point of 4K isn't exactly to have all your settings turned up all the way also with 4K, but rather to have a clearer, more crisp image regardless of settings. So in my opinion, running the exact same settings at 1440p competitive at 4K makes perfect sense, and it makes it easier to compare. I do want to mention that you'll have to forgive the gameplay today as I was playing in bed on a 2x2 centimeter squared mousepad. No, I'm kidding. It was just a tiny ass mousepad and I was playing in bed because the only 4K native resolution thing I have in this house is a TV. So as you'd imagine, my aim and virtually everything else, movement being the only other important thing in Warzone, would be lacking. But as you can see, the one thing that's not lacking is frame rates here, because holy shit, it's playing Warzone at 4K settings at a consistent 240 plus, if not even all the way up to 290 FPS. This is 4K. You can nearly have a 4K 300Hz monitor running on this. It's absolutely insane. I did actually switch to 1440p here to see what would happen, and check this out. Easy 360Hz 1440p on this GPU and easy 240 4K. It's incredible how fast the 4090 is, and it still surprises me to this day. Moving on to Warzone 2, the picture changes a little bit, but I know this is gonna sound a bit crazy to say that it only is getting about 200-ish FPS, but it is getting a lot less than multiplayer, obviously. Now, I do have to say this completely eliminates any CPU bottlenecks in this part of the map with the 5800X3D, and if you're playing at 4K with a 4090 and a 5800X3D, you can just constantly expect your GPU usage to be the bottleneck, not the CPU usage. Right here, I'm just checking to see how much of an effect moving your mouse around with a 1000 polling rate mouse would have, and it's nothing significant. But I do want to mention, this isn't the story around the entire map. This is a part of the map that is not as CPU bottlenecked as other parts of the map, and even here you can see that you'll occasionally drop that GPU usage below 90% if you have a dip or something like that where the CPU is just used a bit more thoroughly. Let's go to a part of the map that is more CPU bottlenecked so I can demonstrate something to you guys. And here we are in Hydroelectric, and I would like you guys to take a look at that GPU usage quickly and notice that is not anymore a very stable 100%. As unfortunately, the second you get by a lot of people and in a denser part of the map, even at 4K you risk having a slight CPU bottleneck with the 4090, albeit not too serious, and you can expect a rough average of 200 FPS around the map whenever you're playing. Moving on to Mazrah City on the highway, I decided to have this as the final testing place because it's a good representation of the sort of FPS you could expect at 4K around most of the map. And as you can see, the lowest you'll generally see is 180 and the highest is about 220 to 230. And it's actually kind of nuts that you can nearly draw the fastest 4K monitor in the world to nearly its full capacity. And that's the Samsung Neo G8, which is a 4K 240Hz monitor. You are mostly GPU bottlenecked here, so you won't be reaching that 240Hz Neo G8 performance, but you're extraordinarily close, and maybe with a setting or two being lowered and a slightly-ish better CPU just to have that consistent frame rate, you can actually fully utilize a Neo G8 240Hz 4K monitor. Alright, getting things started with the Modern Warfare and Warzone 1 settings. These are optimized specifically for the best gameplay, not ultra settings by any means necessary. All things considered, if you need to see any of these, just pause the video. Let's get things started with the multiplayer frame rate. And quite clearly, you get broke bitch frames over here. Honestly, nowhere near to enough to satisfy anybody, only about 270 to 310 4K resolution frames. Jesus Christ, what the fuck is this GPU made of? Mind you, this is a 100% GPU bottleneck, which means that at 1440p you can most certainly draw 360 plus frames. What, you can probably draw 400 plus frames. No, it's completely absurd. In Modern Warfare 1 and Warzone 1, the frame rates are incredibly good, and I wish this GPU was out during the era of Modern Warfare 1. Regardless, moving on to Battle Royale in Modern Warfare 1. And I have extremely good news, because this is absolutely great frame rate coming out of the GPU. At 100% GPU usage, you're getting the flawless 240 frames you would want to see at 4K. Now yes, this is not the absolutely crazy 300 frames of multiplayer, but as you can see, you're even nearing 260s, 270s depending on where you are. So the fact you can actually draw full-blown Samsung Neo G8 frame rates 4K 240 in a battle royale is beautiful, and this GPU is an absolute monster, and luckily that 5800X3D is powerful enough to back it up. Moving on to Dying Light 2, I want to mention that I'm fully aware most people would run a 4090 at 4K with ray tracing and ultra. The reason I ran this at 4K high settings only is because in my previous video I was doing a CPU bottleneck test and I tested at these exact settings, so for the sake of comparison, we'll test at the same settings. The 4K results here are not by any means surprising. At 1440p identical settings, we were seeing about 200 frames, meanwhile here we see anywhere between 120 to 150 frames, and both results were fully GPU bottlenecked. Let's go to the 1440p results and see exactly how they looked in comparison to this. And luckily for all Dying Light 2 lovers, the game seems to be greatly optimized on Nvidia graphics cards and especially works well on the 4090, as at 1440p you're seeing 190 to 200 FPS and at 4K like 120 to 150 FPS, which are both remarkably good frame rate numbers, and I wouldn't be upset with any of them. As for Forza Horizon 5, I'm going to jump straight directly to the results and do the comparison between 4K and 1440p. These are the settings I was playing at. Mind you, the same as last video, just for comparison's sake. Do keep in mind that at 1440p there was a CPU bottleneck, so these results are slightly skewed. And here are the results, albeit I do have to take back something that I did say, as not only were the 1440p results CPU bottlenecked, but so were the 4K results, which these are the 4K results. That is absolutely crazy in my opinion that Forza is so CPU demanding, but you're less CPU bottlenecked at 4K than you are at 1440p quite clearly, as you're going from a 90 to 95 to a 70 to 80% usage. So yeah, keep that in mind if you're a Forza player. Just very CPU bottleneck game, especially with ray tracing on. And in conclusion, the RTX 4090 is just outright overpowered. In the background you have some more footage of me playing on my bed, just so you know, so my aim is not this dog shit when I'm playing on a table, this is me playing on a bed. But yeah, when you play at 4K, you will obviously be far less CPU bottlenecked than you would be at 1440p. The argument is that the 4090 really is a 4K card, but I still want to maintain that I don't think so. I don't think any card is a certain resolution card. I think that your CPU is just too slow in that scenario. And if you want to play competitive 4K, you can. The 4090 is more than overpowered enough to draw 240 plus frames at 4K in most multiplayer games, and can even do about 200 frames in battle royales with absolutely no issue. So truthfully, it's up to interpretation. All I've learned today is that the 4090 is overpowered, and every time I throw something at it, I'm deeply impressed, and I'm super excited to pair it with the 7000X3D series coming next month. I want to thank you guys for the recent support, and on one of my latest videos, the 4090 video actually, as it's my most viewed video ever, my most liked video ever, and my most subscribers gained from one video. So for all newcomers, welcome, and I hope to see you in all of my next videos. I appreciate reading the comments in the comments section, and I do take advice quite seriously. If one of you knows better than me, I'm not gonna just say, Oh, no, I know better. I'm excited to learn from you guys in the comment section, and I've already learned quite a bit thanks to one of the guys that recommended PBO2 tuner for the 5800X3D, and it resulted in better performance for me. Regardless, guys, this video was very long already. I don't generally do videos that are this long, so I'm going to end it here. It's been a fun one, and I hope this video was very helpful to determine if the 4090 is capable of doing high refresh gaming, which it very obviously is, even at 4K resolution. Have a good one, and peace.